not the biggest fan of unboxing videos. I know they're all the rage, but it's just not my thing. A lot of times it's like, hey, I got this from Loot Crate, which, you paid for it, or check out what I ordered from Amazon. I don't care what you bought recently. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but you know what it is. It's not a big deal. When your friends send you something and you do an unboxing of that kind, I think that's really cool. I think it's a great way to say thank you. And recently I saw a video by JLove81, yes, JLove once again, and 2 of the games that came in this box were Castlevania Bloodlines and Michael Jackson's Moonwalker for the Sega Genesis. And I mentioned that those are pretty much the 2 reasons why I own a Sega Genesis, and that I thought I had a fairly interesting story about how I got my Genesis and my copy of Moonwalker. But also, Moonwalker ties into part of my love for the Master System, so she asked me to give that story. I wasn't going to do this video right now since I've already posted 2 today, but then I figured it's Halloween. Might as well give you a little treat. So, as I was saying, I hope this is interesting. I had wanted a Genesis for the longest time, and I wanted it for these 2 specific games. So I was like, I'm going to go cheap. Like, I gotta not spend a whole lot of money on the system that I only want 2 games on. So I'd always be watching things like Craigslist and eBay. And this day happens, I find a Genesis on eBay and a couple of games, 2 controllers, all that stuff. Like $30. I'd have to drive a ways, but that's cool. So I checked eBay as well, and there's just amazing. It's like a plethora of copies of Moonwalker. They're like $10 to $20 each, no big deal. So I'm married at the time, and I contact my ex-wife, who was of course my wife at the time, and I'm telling her, like, hey, I found a Genesis, it's $30. Do you mind if I go get it? And if we order this game when later on tonight? She says, yeah, no problem. So I go out there, give the lady her money, get my Genesis, come home. And we were meeting some of her coworkers, my ex-wife's coworkers, I should say, at a restaurant for dinner. So I go there, and she says, yeah, you get the Genesis? I said, yeah, I got it. She's like, all right, we'll go home, we'll go on eBay, we'll order a copy of Moonwalker. Cool. So I'm going to finally get to play Moonwalker again for the first time in well over a decade. So we're at dinner, and a lot of these restaurants will have like TVs throughout the place, right? And somebody screams out, oh my God, turn up the TV. And the whole room goes silent, and they turn it up because they got like CNN or MSNBC on. And the announcer's like, this just in, King of Pop, Michael Jackson, just passed away. And I'm just like, oh man, like, 1, I like Michael Jackson, but 2, not to, belittle his death or anything, but I'm not getting that game now. And sure enough, we get home, it's only been maybe 25, 30 minutes. There's twice as many copies of the game on eBay as there was that afternoon, and the cheapest one was like $90. So I'm like, okay, I'm not getting this game anytime soon. It ended up being about 2 years before I actually got a copy of Moonwalker. And Castlevania Bloodlines was even longer because I just couldn't find it anywhere. But eventually I did get a copy because the prices went back down on it, and it was a lot of fun. So as for why I've got the Master System version on here, the one time I played a Master System as a kid, this was the game I played. So that's not a system I had as a kid. Why do I love it so much? See, I had an NES growing up, like so many others. And it was about 95, 96, my AC adapter on the NES actually shorted out. And at this time, you couldn't find replacements. And my parents were like, we're not getting you a Super Nintendo, you have a Nintendo. Christmas rolls around, they're like, okay, we can get you something, but it's got to be fairly cheap. So, handhelds were cheaper than consoles at the time, so I asked if I can get a Game Gear, and I got a Sega Game Gear for Christmas. Which, if you know, the Game Gear and the Master System are basically the same thing. A lot of the games are ports of one or the other. So, from about about 12, 13 years old then, and from that point on is when I had my Game Gear. So that's kind of, the teenage years when everything's really ingrained. That's why I have such a love for the Master System. The one time I played it as a kid was at my sister's friend's house. Now, my sister and her friend were like the biggest Michael Jackson fangirls of the time, right? And we were pretty young. And this might embarrass my sister, but that's okay. But she used to think when she was real little that Michael Jackson would actually live in her closet. Like, she didn't have a monster in her closet. Michael Jackson would live there. And he vacationed under her bed, right? And she was one of those kids who, when we were told to clean our rooms, and just throw everything under the bed. So why anybody would want to go down there, I don't know. But hey, Michael Jackson was a weird guy. Who knows, right? So I go over to my sister's friend's house with my sister, and they want to do their thing, and they want to keep me busy. So my sister's friend's like, hey, you can play my game system, and she's got a Master System. I've never seen this before. So she shows me how to access the Snail Maze game, and she gives me her only game she has, which was Moonwalker, which I swear she only had a Master System because she was such a Michael Jackson fangirl. Like, there's a Michael Jackson game on this system. I've got to have that. So that entire afternoon, I pretty much just spent playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker on the Master System. And it's one of those nostalgia things. I will be the first to admit the Genesis version is definitely superior, but I just love it on the Master System, and I love the 8-bit renditions of the songs, like Smooth Criminal is just amazing in 8-bit. Like, seriously, they're essentially the same game, though there's tiny differences. But it's one of those things where I'd say if you want to try them, try both. But the Genesis is definitely a better game overall. It's presented better. So yeah, I hope I didn't bore you too much. That's my story of Moonwalker and my love of the Master System and how I got my Genesis.